The Galactic Union Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive crystalline structure that reflected the light of 1,000 distant suns. Inside, representatives from 300 civilized species sat in their designated sectors, their forms as varied as the galaxies themselves. The Kralith stood tall on 6 legs, their chitinous armor gleaming under the soft blue light. The Vornax drifted in containment fields, beings of pure energy bound by ancient technology. The Zinthari observed with their compound eyes, their telepathic hum filling the spaces between words. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Sarah Chun, the sole representative of humanity. She wore a simple gray suit, her dark hair pulled back, her expression calm despite the hostile energy radiating from every corner of the room. Behind her floated a holographic display of Earth, a blue marble spinning peacefully in the darkness. High Counselor the Sien, a Kralith whose carapace bore the golden marks of authority, raised one of his 4 arms. The chamber fell silent. His voice boomed through the translation network, echoing in 100 different languages simultaneously. Ambassador Chun, humanity stands accused of 317 violations of the Galactic Peace Accord. Your species has colonized restricted zones, developed prohibited weapons technology, and refused to submit to Union oversight. Most troubling of all, you have ignored 14 warnings to cease your expansion. The Council has reached its decision. Sarah's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Around her, alien faces showed expressions that ranged from disgust to pity. The Vornax representative pulsed a deep red, a sign of anger in their kind. A Zinthari diplomat clicked its mandibles in what might have been satisfaction. The Sien continued, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the human. Humanity is young, reckless, and dangerous. You reproduce too quickly. You adapt too rapidly. You question authority and refuse to accept the natural order established over 3 million years of galactic civilization. Your ambition knows no limits, and that makes you a threat to the stability we have worked so hard to maintain. We are not a threat, Sarah said quietly, her voice steady. We are survivors. We are explorers. We seek only to live freely among the stars. A cacophony of sounds erupted from the assembly. Clicks, hisses, electromagnetic pulses, and telepathic bursts that the translation network struggled to process. The Zinthari ambassador leaned forward, its voice dripping with contempt. You seek to dominate. That is the human way. We have studied your history, war after war, conflict after conflict. You nearly destroyed yourselves before you even left your homeworld. And now you bring that chaos to our galaxy. Sarah looked directly at the Zinthari, unflinching. We survived our conflicts because we learned from them. We grew. We changed. Can any of you say the same? The chamber erupted again, louder this time. The Sien slammed his primary arm against the podium, creating a sound like thunder. Silence. The decision is made. Humanity is hereby expelled from the Galactic Union. All human colonies in Union space must be evacuated within 1 standard year. All trade agreements are terminated immediately. All diplomatic relations are severed. Earth and its territories will be quarantined. Any human vessel that crosses into Union space after the deadline will be destroyed without warning. Sarah closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. When she spoke, her voice carried across the vast chamber with unexpected strength. You make a mistake today. You judge us by our past, not by our potential. You fear what you do not understand. But know this, when you look back on this moment in the years to come, you will realize that you did not expel humanity from your union. You freed us from your limitations. She tapped a control on her wrist, and the hologram behind her changed. Earth vanished, replaced by a map showing the human colonies scattered across the frontier regions of the galaxy. 67 worlds, connected by thin blue lines representing trade routes and communication networks. It looked small compared to the vast expanse of Union territory. We came to you in peace, Sarah said, her voice now cold. We asked only to be part of something greater. You have chosen differently. Very well. We will remember this day, and we will build something better than what you have here. Something you could never imagine. Thexian's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. You will build nothing. Your tiny collection of worlds cannot survive without Union technology, without Union resources, without Union protection. The frontier is dangerous, human. There are things out there that would destroy your entire species in a matter of days. You are children playing with fire. We expel you for your own good as much as ours. Sarah smiled then, a cold expression that made several nearby diplomats shift uncomfortably. We have survived ice ages and supervolcanoes. We have survived plagues that killed half our population. We have survived nuclear weapons and artificial intelligence gone wrong. We have survived each other. If you think the frontier will break us, you understand nothing about humanity. She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. As she reached the door, she paused and looked back one final time. One more thing, counselors. When we return, and we will return, it will not be as supplicants begging for acceptance. It will be as equals, or perhaps as something more. The door sealed behind her with a hiss of compressed air. For a long moment nobody spoke. Then the Zinthari ambassador clicked its mandibles again. Arrogant creatures. They will not last a decade out there alone. But High Counselor the Sien stared at the closed door, his compound eyes reflecting complex thoughts. Deep in his genetic memory, inherited from ancestors who had built civilizations while Earth was still covered in primitive forests, something stirred. A warning, a recognition of something dangerous. He said nothing. The vote had been cast. Humanity was expelled. But as the council moved to other business, the Sien could not shake the feeling that they had just made a terrible mistake, one that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The evacuation began immediately. Across 17 Union worlds, human colonists received the order to abandon everything they had built. Cities that had taken decades to construct, farms carved from alien soil, research stations studying exotic phenomena, all of it had to be left behind within 12 standard months. Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the UHS Defiance, humanity's largest warship, watching the feeds from a dozen different colonies. On the main view screen, families loaded whatever they could carry onto transport ships. Children cried. Adults moved with grim determination, their faces set in expressions of barely controlled anger and grief. Admiral, we're receiving protests from New Singapore, reported Commander Lisa Park, his second in command. The colonists are refusing to leave. They've been there for 43 years. They say it's their home. Marcus clenched his jaw. He was a tall man, his dark skin weathered by years of service, his gray hair cut military short. His uniform bore the insignia of Earth's United Defense Fleet, though that fleet now consisted of only 62 warships, a fraction of the smallest Union member's navy. Tell them they have no choice, he said quietly. If they stay, the Union will kill them the day after the deadline. The Sien made that clear. They don't believe the Union would actually fire on civilians, Lisa said. Marcus turned to look at her. She was younger, in her 30s, brilliant and compassionate. Too compassionate sometimes. The Union has maintained peace for 3 million years by eliminating threats without hesitation. They see us as a threat. They will not hesitate. He pulled up another feed, this one from New Harmony, a colony on the edge of Union space. Here, the evacuation was proceeding more smoothly, but the anger was palpable. He watched as a young girl placed a flower on the steps of a school before boarding the transport. His chest tightened. How many will we lose? Lisa asked softly. Approximately 8,000 colonists refused to leave. They planned to appeal directly to local Union governors. Marcus's voice was hollow. They'll die. The Union doesn't make exceptions. Lisa looked away, blinking rapidly. We should fight. We should protect them. With what? Marcus gestured at the tactical display showing their fleet positions. 62 ships against 300 species and 2 million warships? We'd be destroyed in hours. Our entire species would be wiped out. No, Commander. We evacuate. We survive. And then, he paused, his eyes hardening. Then we become strong enough that this never happens again. Over the following months, the exodus continued. 300 million humans fled Union space, cramming into colony ships designed for half that number. The journey to the frontier worlds was long and hard. Resources ran low. Fights broke out in overcrowded quarters. Disease spread in the tight confines. 2 transports were lost to mechanical failures, taking 60,000 souls with them. But humanity endured. Back on Earth, in a bunker deep beneath the Atlantic Ocean, President Elena Vasquez convened an emergency meeting of the Security Council. The room was sparse, functional, lined with screens showing feeds from across human space. 12 people sat around the table, the leaders of Earth's major nations, though those distinctions mattered less with each passing day. "We need to discuss the Omega protocols," Elena said without preamble. She was a woman in her 60s, her face lined with the weight of leadership, her eyes sharp and calculating. She had led humanity through first contact, through the integration period, and now through expulsion. She would not see her species fade quietly. General Wei Chun, commander of Earth's ground forces, leaned forward. "Madam President, the Omega protocols were designed as a last resort. Are you certain we've reached that point? The Union has expelled us and threatened to destroy any human ship that crosses into their territory," Elena said flatly. "They have condemned 3 million of our citizens to the outer frontier, where resources are scarce and dangers are many. They have labeled us a threat to galactic stability." "Yes, General, I believe we have reached that point." Dr. Amara Okafor, head of the Science Directorate, spoke up. "The Omega protocols will take everything we have. Every resource, every mind, every ounce of industrial capacity. There will be nothing left for anything else. Our people will suffer." "Our people are already suffering," Elena replied. "The question is whether we continue to suffer and fade away, or whether we suffer and build something that ensures our survival." She tapped a control, and a classified document appeared on the screens. Eyes widened as people read. "Project Prometheus," Elena continued. "Project Helios. Project Titan. The Union thinks we are primitive because we have only been in space for 2 centuries. They think our technology is inferior because we have not had 3 million years to refine it. They are wrong. We may lack their experience, but we have something they lost long ago. We have hunger. We have desperation. We have the ability to innovate under pressure." She stood, placing her hands on the table. "Humanity has always thrived when we are pushed to the edge. We are at the edge now, perhaps closer than we have ever been. So we will do what we do best. We will adapt. We will build. And we will show the galaxy what happens when you corner the human race." The vote was unanimous. The Omega protocols were activated. Within weeks, every asteroid in the Sol system was being mined at maximum capacity. Every shipyard worked around the clock. Every research facility abandoned pure science in favor of applied military technology. Earth's economy shifted entirely to a war footing, though they were not yet at war. In the frontier, the evacuated colonists arrived at their new homes. 67 worlds, most of them harsh and underdeveloped. Worlds with thin atmospheres, hostile wildlife, and limited resources. The Union had expected humanity to struggle, to wither, to eventually come begging for readmission on whatever terms were offered. They did not understand humanity at all. On the frontier world of Novaterra, Governor James Reeves stood before a crowd of 10,000 newly arrived colonists. The planet's sky was a strange purple color, and twin suns hung overhead, casting double shadows. The air was breathable but thin, making everyone slightly lightheaded. "I won't lie to you," James said. His voice amplified across the makeshift landing zone. "Life here will be hard. Harder than anything we faced in Union space. We have no support, no safety net, no one to help us if we fail. We are alone." He paused, looking at their faces. Exhausted, angry, afraid, but not broken. Never broken. But we are not helpless. We are human. That word means something. It means we fall down and get back up. It means we find solutions where others see only problems. It means we survive. Our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats. They crossed deserts that killed 90% of their people. They went to the moon with computers less powerful than the one in your pocket. And now we will cross the frontier and build something the galaxy has never seen. A cheer went up, ragged at first, then stronger. James felt it in his chest, a pride that burned away the fatigue and fear. They would survive this. They would do more than survive. They would thrive. 5 years after the expulsion, the galaxy took notice of something strange happening in the frontier. Union scouts sent to monitor humanity's inevitable decline returned with reports that made no sense. The humans were not dying. They were growing. In the council chamber, High Counselor the Sien reviewed the data with increasing alarm. Holographic displays showed the frontier worlds, and the changes were undeniable. Cities rose where there had been only wilderness. Orbital stations multiplied around planets that had been nearly barren. And most troubling of all, energy signatures indicating industrial production on a scale that rivaled Union core worlds. "This cannot be accurate," said the Zinthari ambassador, its telepathic voice tinged with disbelief. "The frontier worlds have minimal resources. The humans should be struggling to feed themselves, not building industrial centers." A Vornax representative pulsed a deep blue. "Perhaps our data is corrupted. The humans lack the technology for such rapid development." But the Kralith intelligence officer presenting the briefing shook its head. "We have confirmed the data through 17 independent sources. The humans are not simply surviving. They are expanding at a rate we have never observed. In 5 years, they have accomplished what would take most species 50. The Sien studied a particular image, a before and after of Nova Terra. 5 years ago, it had been a barely habitable rock with a single struggling settlement. Now, it showed a sprawling city of gleaming towers, massive agricultural domes, and an orbital ring beginning to form around the planet. "How?" the Sien demanded. "What are they doing differently?" The intelligence officer brought up another display, this one showing a human mining operation on an asteroid. "They work continuously, 3 shifts every day with minimal rest. They have automated systems more advanced than we realized. And they reproduce rapidly. Their population in the frontier has increased by 22% through natural birth and cloning programs." "Cloning is forbidden under Union law," a Zinthari protested. "They are no longer under Union law," the Sien reminded quietly. "They are free to do as they wish." He leaned back in his command chair, his mind racing. The other council members began arguing among themselves, but he ignored them. He was seeing something that the others were not. Humanity was not just surviving, they were adapting to their circumstances with terrifying efficiency. On Nova Terra, in a research facility buried deep underground, Dr. Sarah Kimura made a breakthrough that would change everything. She stood before a containment field, watching a swirling mass of exotic particles that pulsed with unnatural light. "It's stable," she whispered, unable to believe her own instruments. "After 3,000 failed attempts, it's actually stable." Her assistant, June Park, ran the calculations again, his fingers flying across holographic interfaces. "Confirmed. The quantum field is holding. Energy output is 300% higher than fusion, and the reaction is self-sustaining." Sarah felt tears on her face. She had been working on this project for 7 years, ever since she was evacuated from her research station in Union space. The Union had refused to share their advanced power generation technology, forcing humanity to rely on primitive fusion reactors. But Sarah had studied exotic physics, and she had theorized that there was a way to tap into quantum fluctuations directly. The Union said it was impossible. Their greatest scientists had declared it theoretically interesting but practically unachievable. Sarah had just proven them wrong. "Contact Admiral Torres," she said, her voice shaking. "Tell him we have our Prometheus engine." Within months, the new power generation technology spread across all human worlds. Energy, the foundation of all civilization, became almost unlimited. With unlimited energy came unlimited possibilities. Factories that had struggled to meet demand now operated at 10 times their previous capacity. Life support systems that had barely maintained breathable atmospheres now terraformed entire planets. Weapons that had been limited by power constraints became devastating. But energy was only the beginning. In orbit around Earth, the massive construction of Bastion 1 entered its final phase. The station was unlike anything humanity had built before, a city in space that could house 2 million people and serve as a fortress capable of defending the entire Sol system. Its weapons arrays incorporated technology that the Union had never shared, technology that human scientists had developed in the pressure cooker of survival. Admiral Marcus Torres, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, watched from the Defiance as the final segments connected. He was older now, his hair completely white, but his eyes burned with purpose. "Status report," he commanded. Commander Lisa Park, now captain and commander of the battle cruiser Retribution, appeared on his screen. "Bastion 1 is operational, sir. All weapon systems are online. Shield generators at full power. We're ready." Marcus nodded slowly. "And the fleet, 247 warships, all equipped with Prometheus engines and quantum shielding. We're not the 62 ships we were 5 years ago, sir." "No, we're not." Marcus allowed himself a small smile. "But we're still vastly outnumbered. The Union has 2 million warships. We need to be better, not just bigger." "We are better, sir." Lisa's expression was fierce. "I've seen the performance data. Our ships are faster, more maneuverable, and carry weapons with twice the range of Union standard arms. Ship for ship, we can take on anything they have. Ship for ship isn't enough when they have 10,000 ships for every one of ours." Marcus turned from the viewport, his face hardening. "But it's a start. Maintain defensive positions, and keep monitoring Union space. If they decide we've become too successful and they want to finish what they started, I want to know before they cross into our territory." On the frontier world of New Horizon, in the largest agricultural dome ever constructed, Governor Kenji Tanaka walked through fields of golden grain that stretched to the curved walls in every direction. The dome was 5 kilometers across, and there were 200 more just like it across the planet's surface. An aide hurried to catch up with him. "Governor, we've exceeded production targets again. We're generating a 40% surplus." Kenji nodded, but his expression remained serious. "Begin shipping the surplus to the other frontier worlds. Terra Nova is struggling with their agricultural development. They need our help. Sir, if we keep giving away our surplus, we won't build up reserves." Kenji stopped and turned to face the young aide. "Listen carefully. The Union wants us to fail. They want us to fight each other for resources, to collapse into chaos and prove their judgment correct. We will not give them that satisfaction. Every human world must succeed. We are not 17 separate colonies anymore. We are one species, one people, united by our expulsion. When one of us struggles, all of us help. That is how we survive." The aide nodded, understanding dawning. "Yes, sir. I'll arrange the shipments." As Kenji resumed his walk, he thought about the reports he'd been receiving. 17 frontier worlds, each developing at an unprecedented pace. New technologies emerging every month. Population growing despite the hardships. And underneath it all, a unity of purpose that humanity had never achieved before. The Union had meant to destroy them by cutting them off. Instead, they had forged humanity into something stronger. Something dangerous. Back in Union space, on the corporate world of Nexus Prime, a Vornax merchant named Keleth received a communication that would change everything. The message was simple and unsigned, but the offer it contained was extraordinary. Prometheus engines available for trade. Energy output superior to fusion by factor of 3. No Union technology required. Contact New Terra if interested. Keleth pulsed a confused orange. This made no sense. The humans had been expelled, quarantined, forbidden from trading with Union worlds. But the energy readings included in the message were real. Keleth's own instruments confirmed it. If humans truly had developed such technology, it would be worth billions. Keleth made a decision that would have far-reaching consequences. Contacted New Terra. Within a month, secret trade began flowing between desperate Union merchants willing to break the quarantine and human worlds eager for resources they couldn't produce yet. The Union Council tried to stop it, but the economic incentives were too strong. Human technology, developed in the crucible of survival, was superior in key ways to Union standard equipment, and humans were willing to trade it for resources they needed. The balance was shifting, and the galaxy was beginning to realize that humanity had not been defeated by their expulsion. They had been unleashed. The warning came at 0300 hours, station time. Admiral Marcus Torres was awakened by alarms screaming through Bastion 1, and he was on the command bridge within 90 seconds, still pulling on his uniform jacket. "Report!" he barked. Captain Lisa Park stood at the tactical station, her face illuminated by red alert lighting. "Sir, we've detected an unknown fleet entering the frontier at Vector 773. 27 ships. Configuration doesn't match any known Union design." Marcus felt ice in his stomach. "Show me." The main view screen came alive with sensor data. 27 ships, each one massive, easily dwarfing even the largest Union battleships. Their hulls were dark, almost invisible against the void, constructed from something that absorbed sensor sweeps. But most disturbing was their trajectory. They were headed directly for New Harmony, one of humanity's most populated frontier worlds. "Broadcast on all frequencies," Marcus ordered. "Identify yourselves. You are entering human territory." Static filled the bridge for a long moment. Then a voice responded, or rather, something that might have been a voice. It sounded like metal scraping against metal, like screams distorted through broken speakers. The translation software struggled to process it. "Humans. Weak. Prey." Lisa's hands moved across her console. "Sir, I'm detecting weapons charging. Multiple vessels. They're targeting New Harmony's orbital stations." Marcus didn't hesitate. "Battle stations. All ships intercept course. And someone tell me what the hell we're dealing with." Dr. Amara Okafor's face appeared on a secondary screen. She'd been monitoring from Earth's Science Directorate. Her expression was grim. "Admiral, I believe you've just met the Devourers. We've heard stories, legends really, from ancient Union data. They're a species that lives in the void between galaxies. They come every few thousand years, harvesting organic matter and technology from civilized worlds. The Union knows about them? The Union has fought them before, always far from core territories. They usually attack minor species on the frontier. Species without protection." Amara's meaning was clear. Species like humanity. Marcus's jaw tightened. "How do we fight them?" "I don't know." The Union data was fragmentary. "But Admiral, the Devourers don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. They consume everything." "Understood." Marcus cut the connection and turned to his crew. "You heard her. This is an extinction-level threat. We stop them here or humanity dies. Prepare for combat." The human fleet, 247 warships strong, accelerated toward the Devourer vessels. They were outnumbered, outmassed, and facing an enemy about which they knew almost nothing. But they had no choice. Behind them were 5 billion human souls spread across 17 worlds. There was nowhere to retreat to. "Range in 30 seconds, Lisa announced. "Their shields are unknown composition. Our weapons may not be effective." "We're about to find out," Marcus said. "All ships weapons-free. Target the lead vessel. Fire everything." Space lit up with destructive fury. Railgun rounds moving at fractional light speed, missiles carrying fusion warheads, particle beams that could cut through a kilometer of solid steel. All of it converged on the lead Devourer ship in a storm of violence that would have vaporized any Union vessel. The Devourer's shields flared, absorbing the impact. Damage reports came back, shield integrity at 87%. "They're strong," Lisa said unnecessarily. Then the Devourers returned fire. Beams of purple energy lanced out, striking the destroyer Vigilant. The ship's quantum shields held for exactly 2 seconds before collapsing. The beam cut through the hull like paper, and Vigilant exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. 300 souls, gone in an instant. "Evasive maneuvers," Marcus shouted. "Don't let them lock on. Attack pattern Delta 7. The human fleet scattered, using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid the devastating beams. They struck from multiple angles, concentrating fire on single targets, trying to overwhelm the Devourer shields through sheer volume. It was working slowly. The lead ship's shields dropped to 60%, then 40%. But humanity was paying a terrible price. Another destroyer exploded. A cruiser, the Dauntless, was crippled and began drifting, half its crew dead or dying. On New Harmony, Governor Rachel Kim watched the battle unfold on the orbital station screens. She had ordered the evacuation of all non-essential personnel, but there were still 40 million people on the planet below. 40 million souls counting on the fleet to protect them. "Governor, we should evacuate the planet," her aide said, voice shaking. "There's nowhere to evacuate to," Rachel replied calmly. "The nearest world is 3 days away at maximum speed. If the fleet falls, those Devourer ships will be in orbit within hours. Our only chance is for our people to win." She didn't say what they were all thinking. If the fleet couldn't stop 27 Devourer ships, what hope did humanity have when more came? Because more would come. Predators always return when they find easy prey. In the battle, Marcus made a desperate decision. "All ships, form up on the Defiance. We're going to ram the lead ship." "Sir." Lisa stared at him. "That's suicide. Not ram breakthrough." Marcus pulled up a tactical overlay. "Their shields are concentrated on the exterior. If we can punch through with enough force, we can tear them apart from the inside. We have Prometheus engines, we have power to spare. Route everything to forward shields and engines. We're going in." The Defiance, humanity's flagship, accelerated toward the lead Devourer vessel. Around it, 15 other ships did the same, the captains understanding the plan instantly. They would be the spearhead, the ram that broke the enemy. Behind them, the rest of the fleet would exploit the opening. The Devourers concentrated fire on the Defiance. 3 purple beams converged on its shields. The bridge filled with the screech of alarms as power systems overloaded. Marcus gripped his command chair as the ship shook violently. "Shield integrity at 30%, Lisa shouted over the noise. 20%. 15. "Hold course," Marcus commanded. "Reroute life support to shields if you have to. 10%. 5. Shields failing. They struck the Devourer ship at a significant fraction of light speed. 5,000 tons of human engineering and determination slamming into alien shields already weakened by sustained fire. The impact was catastrophic. The Defiance's forward sections crumpled like paper, but its momentum carried it through the failing shield barrier and into the Devourer's hull. Across human space, 5 billion people closed their eyes. In the farms of New Horizon, families held hands. In the factories of Novaterra, workers stopped their machines and focused. On Earth, in cities and villages, in orbital stations and asteroid mines, humanity united in a single moment of absolute determination. And the quantum fields responded. On Prometheus Station, Sarah watched her instruments spike to levels that should have been impossible. The quantum fluctuations were forming patterns, coherent waves that spread across light years in an instant, connecting every Prometheus engine in human space. And at the center of it all, 5 billion minds thinking the same thought, willing the same reality into existence. "It's working," she breathed. "June, it's actually working." The energy built, cascading from engine to engine, amplified by human consciousness. And then Sarah released it, directing the quantum wave toward New Harmony, toward the battle, toward the Devourers who thought humanity was prey. In the battle zone, the Devourer ships detected the quantum wave approaching and tried to adjust their shields. But this was not a weapon they understood. This was not energy or matter or any conventional attack. This was something else entirely. This was human will made manifest. The wave struck. Every human ship suddenly blazed with power. Shields that had been failing snapped back to full strength. Weapons that had depleted their energy reserves roared back to life. Damaged systems repaired themselves as quantum states shifted in defiance of conventional physics. And the Devourers screamed. Their ships, designed to absorb and resist energy, had no defense against this. The quantum wave didn't destroy their shields or pierce their hulls. It did something worse. It rejected their existence. It told reality that these ships, these creatures, did not belong in a universe where humanity existed. One by one, the Devourer vessels began to phase out of normal space. They flickered, translucent one moment, solid the next. Their weapons' fire became erratic, missing targets by kilometers. Their formation broke as ships found themselves suddenly displaced from where they should have been. All ships attack now, Marcus commanded, understanding instinctively what was happening. While they're vulnerable, the human fleet surged forward. This time, their weapons cut through Devourer shields like they weren't even there. Explosions rippled across enemy hulls. One ship, then another, then 5 more shattered under the onslaught. The Devourers tried to retreat, but the quantum field had them trapped. Space itself seemed to resist their movement. They were anchored in place by the collective will of 5 billion minds that said, "You will not leave, you will not escape, you will not survive to threaten us again." The battle became a massacre. In 15 minutes, all 26 remaining Devourer ships were destroyed, torn apart by human weapons empowered by forces that no one fully understood. When the last explosion faded, Marcus sat back in his command chair, trembling. Around him, his crew stared at their instruments in shock. What they had just witnessed defied every law of physics they knew. "Admiral," Lisa said quietly, "what just happened?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but we won. Against all odds, we won." On Prometheus Station, Sarah collapsed into her chair, exhausted. The quantum field was dissipating now, returning to normal levels. But she had the data. She had proof. Human consciousness could affect reality. It was reproducible, measurable, real. "We need to tell the Council," June said. "We need to tell Earth." "We will," Sarah replied. "But first, we need to understand what we've done. Because if humanity can do this, if we can change reality through will alone, then we're not just another species. We're something the galaxy has never seen before." She looked at the data streams, the patterns of quantum fluctuations that corresponded to human thought, human emotion, human determination. And she understood why the Union had feared them. Not because humanity was violent or aggressive, but because humanity had potential that the Union couldn't even imagine. The ancient species had grown comfortable, stable, predictable. They had refined their technology over millions of years until it was perfect and unchanging. They had forgotten what it meant to adapt, to innovate, to reach beyond the possible. But humanity remembered. Humanity had never stopped reaching. And now they had touched something that would change everything. News of the victory at New Harmony spread across human space within hours, and across the galaxy within days. The Union Council received reports with growing alarm. 27 Devourer ships, destroyed by a human fleet less than a quarter their size. The mathematics made no sense. The physics were impossible. High Counselor the Sien convened an emergency session. The council chamber, usually a place of ordered debate and careful deliberation, buzzed with confused and frightened voices. Holograms flickered with sensor data that their best scientists couldn't explain. "They used some kind of quantum weapon," the Kralith military advisor reported. "But it's unlike anything in our databases. The energy signature is similar to zero-point field manipulation, but the scale and coherence are orders of magnitude beyond what we considered possible." A Zinthari scientist clicked its mandibles anxiously. "Our models show that such technology should require computational systems the size of a small moon. The humans don't have that infrastructure. How are they generating these fields?" The Sien studied the data in silence. He had reviewed the battle footage dozens of times, watching human ships that should have been destroyed suddenly regenerate their shields, watching Devourer vessels phase in and out of normal space as if reality itself was rejecting them. And he had read the intelligence reports about Dr. Kimura's research, about the Prometheus engines, about quantum field theory that the Union had declared impossible decades ago. "Send an emissary," he said finally. "We need to understand what the humans have discovered. This changes everything." "You want to negotiate with them?" The Zinthari ambassador's telepathic voice dripped with disdain. "We expelled them. We declared them a threat. They won't listen to us." "They will listen," the Sien replied calmly. "Because they need to. The Devourers don't send scout forces. Those 27 ships were a probe. When they don't report back, more will come. Hundreds of ships. Thousands. The humans defeated a scout force through some miracle of technology or willpower, but they cannot stand against a full devourer fleet alone. And neither can we. That statement sent a ripple of fear through the chamber. The Union had fought the devourers before, always at great cost, always far from core worlds where defeat wouldn't threaten civilization itself. But if the devourers came in force, if they decided that this section of the galaxy was ripe for harvesting, what are you proposing? The Vornax representative pulsed a cautious yellow. An alliance. Temporary, limited, but necessary. The humans have technology we don't understand. We have resources and numbers they lack. Together, we might survive what's coming. Separately, we will all die. On Earth, in the Global Defense Command Center, President Elena Vasquez received the Union's request for a meeting with cold satisfaction. She sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by humanity's leadership. Admiral Marcus Torres was there, having returned from the front lines. Dr. Sarah Kimura attended via hologram from Prometheus Station. General Wei Chun, Dr. Amara Okafor, and a dozen others filled the remaining seats. They want to negotiate, Elena said, her voice neutral. High Counselor the Sien himself is coming to Earth. Unprecedented. The head of the Galactic Union, traveling to a world they expelled and quarantined. It's a trap, General Wei said immediately. They're afraid of our new capabilities. They'll try to steal our technology or sabotage it. Possibly, Elena agreed. But I don't think so. The Devourers scared them, and they should be scared. Dr. Kimura, explain what you've learned. Sarah's hologram stood and gestured, bringing up displays that filled the air above the table. The Devourers we fought were a scouting force. I've been analyzing their ship designs and communication patterns. They were gathering intelligence on available resources in this region. When they don't report back, the main fleet will come to investigate. How many ships are we talking about? Marcus asked, though his expression suggested he didn't want to know the answer. Based on historical Union records and the Devourers' operational patterns, I estimate between 500 and 2,000 ships, all of them larger and more powerful than what we just fought. Silence filled the room. Finally, Marcus spoke. Our fleet can't handle that. Even with the quantum field technique, we're not ready for that scale of battle. We lost 80 ships at New Harmony. We have less than 200 remaining, and many of those are damaged. Which is why the Union wants to talk, Elena said. They know what's coming. They know we can't stop it alone, and they're not certain they can either. They need our quantum field technology. And we need their numbers and their industrial capacity. Dr. Amara Okafor leaned forward. Madam President, we can't trust them. They expelled us. They left us to die on the frontier. Why should we help them now? Elena's expression hardened. Because 5 billion human lives depend on making the right choice. I don't trust the Union, but I trust the Devourers even less. If they harvest this entire sector of the galaxy, humanity dies. All of us. Earth, the frontier colonies, everything we've built. Gone. She looked around the table, meeting each person's eyes. But we're not going back as supplicants. We're not begging for readmission. We're negotiating as equals. Maybe as superiors. The Union needs us now more than we need them, and we're going to make sure they understand that. 3 days later, a Union diplomatic vessel entered the Sol system. It was a massive ship, gleaming with crystalline structures and energy shields that painted space with rainbow colors. But it came alone, without escort, a sign of trust or perhaps of desperation. High Counselor the Sien descended to Earth's surface at Geneva, where humanity had established its diplomatic complex. He emerged from his shuttle with 2 advisors, his chitinous armor catching the sunlight, his 4 eyes taking in the blue sky and green landscape with barely concealed wonder. Earth was more vibrant than any Union core world, younger and wilder. President Elena Vasquez waited at the landing pad, flanked by Admiral Torres and Dr. Kimura. She wore a simple black suit, her gray hair pulled back, her expression carefully neutral. High Counselor, she said formally, welcome to Earth. This is the first time a Union Council leader has visited our world. "It is an honor, Madam President," the Cien replied, his translated voice carrying artificial warmth, "though I regret the circumstances that bring me here." "As do I." Elena gestured toward the complex. "Shall we speak plainly? We both know why you're here." Inside the meeting room, holographic displays showed the battle at New Harmony from multiple angles. The Cien watched in silence as human ships executed maneuvers that should have been impossible, as quantum fields reshaped reality, as devourer vessels died. "Remarkable," he said finally. "We have underestimated your species, President Vasquez. This is perhaps the greatest military innovation the galaxy has seen in 1,000,000 years." "You expelled us," Elena replied bluntly. "You called us dangerous and reckless. You condemned us to the frontier, expecting us to fail. And now you come here because you need what we've built." Thexian's mandibles clicked in what might have been respect. "You are correct. We made a grave mistake. Humanity is dangerous, but not in the way we thought. You're dangerous because you adapt, because you innovate, because you refuse to accept limitations. These are qualities the Union has lost over millennia of peace and stability." He turned to face her directly. "The devourers are coming. You know this. Your scientists know this. They will come in numbers that will overwhelm your fleet and devastate your colonies. But they will not stop with you. They will continue into Union space, harvesting worlds, consuming trillions of lives. We must stand together against this threat." "You want our quantum field technology," Marcus said, speaking for the first time. "In exchange for what?" "Readmission to the Union on your terms." "No." Thexian's answer surprised them all. "I propose something different. A military alliance, yes, but more than that. A true partnership. The Union will provide industrial support, raw materials, and 200,000 warships. Humanity will provide your quantum field generators and the expertise to use them. We fight together as equals. And after the devourers are defeated, we discuss the future." "And if we refuse?" Elena asked. "Then we both die. Perhaps not immediately, but eventually. The devourers will destroy humanity first, then turn their attention to the Union. We will fight and possibly win, but at a cost of millions of lives and dozens of worlds. Or we can fight together and win at a fraction of the cost." Elena exchanged looks with Marcus and Sarah. They had discussed this possibility. They had planned for it, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. "We have conditions," Elena said. "First, all human colonies remain independent. We are not rejoining the Union. Second, any Union ships equipped with our quantum field technology must have human operators to manage the systems. Third, after the devourers are defeated, there will be a formal treaty recognizing humanity's sovereignty and our right to expand without Union interference. And fourth, you will publicly acknowledge that your decision to expel us was wrong." Thexian's 4 eyes studied her carefully. The fourth condition was the most difficult, an admission of fault that would undermine Union authority. But he was pragmatic enough to recognize necessity. "Agreed," he said finally, "to all conditions. We will draft the treaty immediately." As they shook hands, human flesh meeting alien chitin, both leaders understood that this was a turning point. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had been forged in isolation and adversity into something new, something powerful. And the Union, ancient and set in its ways, was being forced to evolve or die. But neither of them fully understood what they had just set in motion. Because when the devourers came, when the battle began, they would discover that humanity's quantum field technology was only the beginning. The real revelation was still to come. The Devourer fleet arrived 6 months later, exactly as Dr. Kimura had predicted. They came in a wave of dark ships that blotted out the stars, 1,200 vessels of nightmare and hunger. They entered the frontier at the edge of human space, their target clear, Earth itself. They had analyzed the Scout Force's last transmissions and identified humanity as the primary threat. Eliminate the humans and the rest of the sector would fall easily. But this time, humanity was not alone. Admiral Marcus Torres stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now fully repaired and upgraded with both human and Union technology. Around him, spread across a volume of space larger than the Sol system, was the greatest fleet ever assembled. 200 human ships, each equipped with quantum field generators. 50,000 Union vessels from a dozen different species, their formations precise and disciplined. And connecting them all, a network of Prometheus engines synchronized to Sarah Kimura's central control on Prometheus Station. Enemy fleet is approaching the outer perimeter. Captain Lisa Park reported from the Retribution, now serving as a forward scout. 1,200 ships confirmed. They're not bothering with stealth or tactics. They're just coming straight at us. Marcus nodded grimly. The Devourers didn't fear them. They were predators who had hunted civilized species for millennia. They had no reason to believe this time would be different. They were about to learn otherwise. All ships hold positions. Dr. Kimura, status on the quantum network. Sarah's voice came through crystal clear. Network is stable, Admiral. All Prometheus engines are synchronized. I'm reading power levels at 300% of what we achieved at New Harmony. And that's before we activate the human consciousness component. The Union ships are ready to receive the quantum field? Marcus asked. They are. But Admiral, their crews are nervous. They don't understand how this works. The Kralith, the Zinthari, the Vornax, none of them can access the quantum field the way humans can. They'll have protection, but they can't contribute to it. That's fine. They just need to fight conventionally and let us handle the quantum aspects. Marcus opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Supreme Commander Torres. Today we face an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. An enemy that sees all of us as prey. They are wrong. He paused, letting his words sink in across 50,000 ships and millions of crew members. 6 months ago, humanity stood alone against them and won. Today we stand together. Human, Kralith, Zinthari, Vornax, and all the other species of the Union. Today we show the Devourers that this galaxy belongs to us. That we will not be harvested. That we will not go quietly into the dark. On Earth, the same message went out to all 5 billion humans. Close your eyes. Focus your will. Think of survival, of victory, of absolute refusal to die. The quantum field needs you. Your consciousness, your determination, your humanity. And across 17 colonies, in ships and stations, in cities and farms, 5 billion minds united once more. The quantum field erupted into existence. But this time it was different, stronger, more coherent. Sarah had spent 6 months studying the phenomenon, understanding it, learning to direct it with precision. The field spread across the fleet like a wave of invisible fire, connecting every ship, every weapon, every shield into a single unified system. The Devourers detected it immediately. Their ships slowed, sensors trying to analyze this new threat. For the first time in recorded history, the Devourers hesitated. They're scared, Lisa said with satisfaction. They remember what happened at New Harmony. Not scared enough, Marcus replied. Fire all weapons. Show them we're not hiding anymore. The combined fleet opened fire. 50,000 ships unleashing destruction simultaneously. The void lit up like a supernova as energy weapons, missiles, railguns, and exotic Union weapons that bent spacetime itself converged on the Devourer fleet. The Devourer's shields held, but barely. And now they were angry. They charged forward. Their hesitation vanished, replaced by predatory fury. They would overwhelm through sheer numbers, crush these upstart species, and feed on their remains. The fleets met in the space between worlds. It was chaos, beautiful and terrible. Ships exploded in flowers of plasma. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void. Missiles corkscrewed through the battle, seeking targets. The Devourer's purple energy weapons lanced out, still devastating, still deadly. A Union battleship, the Pride of Krail, took a direct hit and split in half. A human destroyer vanished in an explosion that briefly outshone nearby stars. But the quantum field held. Every time a ship's shields failed, the field reinforced them. Every time a weapon ran out of power, the field recharged it. The combined fleet fought with a coordination and resilience that the Devourers had never encountered before. and slowly, impossibly, they began to win. Devourer ships started to phase out of normal space again, their hulls flickering as quantum uncertainty took hold. But Sarah had learned from New Harmony. This time, she didn't just reject their existence. She rewrote it. On Prometheus Station, surrounded by screens showing data streams that looked more like art than science, Sarah spoke commands that were half mathematics, half poetry. She was conducting a symphony of consciousness and quantum mechanics, directing 5 billion human minds and the power of 50,000 ships toward a single purpose. "Target the command vessel," she said, her voice calm despite the magnitude of what she was attempting. "I'm going to try something new." The largest Devourer ship, a monstrous construction 10 kilometers long, found itself suddenly surrounded by quantum fluctuations. Space twisted around it, folding in ways that shouldn't be possible. And then, impossibly, the ship began to change. Its dark hull started to crystallize, organic metal becoming silicon structures. Its weapons powered down as their energy was converted into harmless light. Its engines died as the very concept of propulsion was temporarily erased from the local area of spacetime. The Devourer command ship, the apex predator of the galaxy, was being transformed into a sculpture of glass and light by the focused will of humanity and the quantum fields they commanded. Other Devourer ships tried to intervene, tried to destroy the human vessels projecting the field. But the combined fleet protected Sarah's focal points with desperate intensity. Union ships threw themselves in the path of Devourer weapons. Human crews pushed their engines beyond safety limits to intercept enemy attacks.